Okay, I'm going to talk to you today about a retirement visa that Ireland has, which is kind of unique. They don't push it. You're not going to see a lot of publicity on it, but I would say it's one of the best in the world. I would put it up there with St. Kitts' residency by investment program, which I've gone through with a lot of people on many videos before. Let me tell you what I like about Ireland first, and then I'll tell you more about the program and how it works. Ireland is one of the countries that has what's called a non-dom program, which means that if you're coming from another country and you've got your domicile already there, and then you apply for residency in Ireland, this is a place that where you're planning on maybe living. You could live there actually for a long time, but you plan on sometime either leaving there, or if you die, you're going to be buried somewhere else. You're not going to be buried in Ireland. If you put that in your will that you're going to be buried in Ireland, it's going to invalidate the non-dom status, okay? So you need to be making sure you've got all your ducks in a row, that you're going to let the government know that you don't be planning on living there. You can live there for 20 years. You can live there for 30 years if you want, but you need to have your domicile somewhere else, okay? You don't want to be going to the U.S., relinquishing your U.S. citizenship after you get a passport in Ireland, because now your domicile is in Ireland, so it's going to change the whole thing. The way you do it is you have your U.S. citizenship, or you can have your Australian citizenship or whatever. Then when you get, of course, in Australia, all you got to do is just leave. The U.S. you would have to relinquish to get around all your tax liabilities. But you could get a residency in Ireland, get the passport, okay, and then somewhere down the road relinquish your U.S. citizenship. But you need to have a passport before you get the Irish passport. A good one would be St. Kitts, because you can get it fast. It's got a lot of visa-free travel, because what happens if you don't get the passport in Ireland for some reason after you reside there, okay? Now, Ireland is very predictable. It's not like Panama. It's not like these Central American countries where you live there for 5 years, then they say you can apply, and then you don't hear anything back from the government. You can go out 10, 15, 20 years and still not hear from them. Ireland's very predictable. If you put the residency period in, unless you've got some sort of background problems, you're going to get the passport, okay? And you can even have background problems. It just depends on what it is, and whether it will get through the status there. You won't have the strictness on the background checks doing a residency by investment that you will do on citizenship by investment, though, okay? Now, let me go over a few things on the non-dom program. The way it works is you can literally bring assets in, get a bank account set up, and that will be counted towards what's called remittance income, as long as that bank account is set up before your residency is set up in Ireland, okay? So you can literally live off that money you brought in before the residency was set up, and that won't be called remittance money. Otherwise, remittance money is taxed as it comes in, okay? And so, you can determine your taxes based on this. And one thing that Ireland's got that you won't see in a lot of pure tax savings, a lot of pure tax savings don't have the tax exchange agreements that Ireland has on dividend income. So you can, in essence, believe me on this, okay, you can pay actually less taxes in Ireland, income-wise, than you can in a pure tax haven. And if you talk about overall taxes, because remember, tax havens typically, when I say pure tax havens, are typically like St. Kitts or places like the Cayman Islands. You're going to have maybe not income tax, but you're going to have high taxes on import duties and stuff like this to make up the income tax, okay? Probably more so than what you would have in Ireland, okay? Because the fact Ireland's got an income tax, but you escape it from being a non-dom. The people that are domiciled there, they're the ones that are going to have to pay the high tax, and they've got high taxes in the 40-something percentile is their top bracket. All right, now let me go over some things with you on this program and how to actually get in it. I'm going to go through an introduction, eligibility, and submitting an application, and then parts of this is dealing with non-visa required people, required documents, and renewing your permission, and then you got your processing time. All right, let's look at the introduction part. If you wish to retire in Ireland, you must be financially independent, and meet all conditions. You'll be required to provide independent verification of your compliance with the financial conditions. This verification must be certified by an Irish accounting firm, and the application process is explained in the next few statements I'm going to go over with you. Okay. Now, people from that are visa required countries must apply for what's called a D reside visa before you're arriving in Ireland, and all applicants must apply for a stamp 0 before arriving in Ireland. Now, let's go over the eligibility part. Now, in order to be eligible for retirement permission, you must be able to support yourself financially. This means that you're not entitled to access state benefits while resident on a retirement type permission. Now, let's look at people of independent means. Now, one thing that I like about this is they're basing it based on proof of income, not where you're having to go in and put a lot of money down. Okay. So if you're looking for one that you can go in and not have to invest a lot of money and just basically, proof income, this is a great way to go. Now, for people of independent means who wish to retire in Ireland, you should have an individual income of 50,000 euros per year. You must have access to a lump sum of money to cover any sudden major expenses. This lump sum should be equal to, for example, the price of a residential dwelling in the state. They don't have a figure for this, but I would take an average house there and double the figure just to make sure that you're going to get through. Okay, but you don't have to invest the money. You just have to prove that you got that money. Now, financial documentation should be presented in a spreadsheet form and converted into euros. It should clearly show all income and spending each month. This must be certified by an Irish accountancy firm who has got the expert knowledge to understand the format of overseas banking and accountancy documentation. All right, now you're going to have to submit an application. Now, there are 2 or 3 steps to the process in registering as what's called an EEA national. Depending on the circumstances, let's look at step 1. You're going to have to apply for what's called permission. Step 2 is applying for a visa, and only necessary if you're visa required. And then step 3 is completing the application process and then registering. Now, let's look at the application for permission. Now, if you are visa required or non-visa required, you must apply for permission by completing the application form. It's called the TPER Stamp 0 application form, and send the required documentations into the government. Okay, and this would be the Domestic Residence and Permissions Division. Now, if your application is successful, and you'll be issued what's called a conditional letter of offer and an agreement form from Domestic Residence and Permission Divisions. And then the conditional letter of offer is given on the condition that you meet any required visa checks, and is subject to discretion of the immigration officer when you enter the state. Also, folks, if you want to legally get around high income taxes or how to get a second passport, as quick as 4 to 8 months, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. And number 2 is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. All right, now let's look at step 2. This is applying for a visa. This is only necessary if you are visa required. Now, if you're a visa required person and have received your conditional letter of offer from Domestic Residence and Permissions Division to retire to Ireland, then you must contact your local visa office to apply for a visa to enter the state. Now, in order to reside in the state on retirement conditions, you must apply for what's called a D-Reside visa. When submitting your application for a D-Reside visa, you must include your conditional letter of offer. It is very important that you obtain a D-Resident visa before entering the state. If you do not enter the state with the D-Resident visa, you will not be able to complete the registration process that will allow you to reside in Ireland. So don't forget that. That's real important that you do this outside. Now, once you've received your conditional letter of offer and you've been granted the correct D-Reside visa, you may travel to the state. Now, please note that the entry to the state is always at discretion of the immigration officer at the port of entry. So you still could be turned away for some other reason, okay? Now, let's look at the non-visa required people. If you are a non-visa required person who wishes to reside in Ireland and you meet the conditions, once you have received your conditional letter offer, you may travel to the state. Now, the granting of visa permission at the port of entry does not mean that your application for retirement to Ireland will be successful. This is one problem that you have with residency by investment programs. I mean, you could not have any criminal issues and still have a hiccup, okay? Citizenship by investment programs, you're pretty much going to get the passport as long as you don't have any sort of civil criminal issues, unless you're applying from a country that, that citizenship by investment country does not allow business from. Like St. Kitts has a list of countries they will not take applicants, so you need to be wary of that, and that's real important. Now, step 3, let's look at that. That's completing the application process and then registering. Now, when you arrive in the state, you should send the signed agreement form that was sent to you with your conditional letter of offer and then your passport, again, to the Domestic Residence and Permissions Division. Now, the Domestic Residence and Permission Division, they'll add a stamp to your passport and then return it to you. And if you're granted permission, then you'll be able to visit the registration office in Dublin or at the local Garda station outside to register for your permission. Now let's look at the required documents. Now, documents required for the initial application for permission are as follows. Now let's look at people of independent means. You've got to have clear and legible copies of your passport, all pages, a copy of your birth certificate. You're going to have your marriage certificate, reason for request for permission, details of all your family members that reside in the state and their legal status in the state, details of Irish associations, evidence of all finances available to you, for example, 6 months of bank statements, evidence of your finances verified by an Irish-based accountant, listing yearly income and any financial liabilities, investment sums that are not normally measured, and then finances must be in the form of pension income or readily accessible funds. You're also going to have to show evidence of private medical insurance with full cover in private hospitals. Also, you're going to have a police clearance certificate. This is from your home country. Health declaration form and any other information you consider relevant for your case. Now, let's look at renewing your permission. Now, if you're requesting to renew your Stamp 0 permission, you're going to have to complete what's called a TPR or TIPR form, which is a renewal form, and then you send in your renewal application 4 months prior to the expiry of your permission, and that's done again to the Domestic Residence and Permission Division. Now, the processing times, the average processing time for applications is 4 months. Delays can be expected when applicants do not send all the required documents with the original application. Applications are processed in chronological order. Now, this was actually, I'm giving you information as of October the 2nd, 2023. So this is pretty, this is up-to-date information. If you want to know more on this, we do this particular residency by investment. And if you want to know more on this, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And again, don't forget, hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen here. You'll get all these new videos as they come out automatically. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.